Hey there, folks. It's me, Chris, with Gig Man's Life. Yeah, baby. It's a gig man's life indeed. And of course, this is one of the things I promise not to do on this channel. But this is bad behavior from somebody else in the gig economy. And please remember that this is a gig. We're not talking about rideshare. We're not talking about delivery. We're not talking about freelancing. This is vlogging, reporting, talking about shit. And yes, I love the cursey words. This is why it's not for children. And, you know, being 17 years on YouTube, you know, this being the most active I've been on the platform in the 17 years, and now talking about this as, you know, people are going to go, oh, this arrest is political and everything else. Let's get on to this. This is what Don Lemon was charged with. And this is an explanation of what it was. Is independent journalist and former CNN anchor Don Lemon was arrested in late January 2026 on federal charges related to a January 18th anti-ICE protest at City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. Lemon faces charges of conspiracy to violate civil rights, one of the laws that were created for the Ku Klux Klan. Take that as a little bit of when they make these laws, they didn't think they would be ever used against them, and violating freedom of access to clinic entrances, which they did go and throw in a part about it, going and disrupting church services and worship. That's why when people are praying outside the zone of a especially when there are the ones who believe that all of the place is a church of and is a place of worship. When they are outside of these things, they can't really go and have people attacking people protesting. Duh. You know, because they are practicing their religion at that time. But key details regarding the charges against Don Lemon, let's please remember this is the Google AI summarizing. The incident, Lemon was present and live streaming before, I'm going to go and say this, before and during an anti-immigration ICE protest where demonstrators interrupted a church service. The charges, specifically, he is accused of conspiring and deprive rights, 18 U.S.C. 241, and violating the FACE Act, 18 U.S.C. 248, by allegedly using physical obstruction or force to interfere with a religious freedom. Context: while authorities label the coordinated attack, and this is what, if you watch his recordings from his live stream before, he was hiding what they were doing, not discussing it. He even brought donuts to the whole thing so that people could get energized for going out and doing this. That doesn't sound like non-participation to me, an observation. That's participation. While authorities labeled the coordinated attack on the place of worship, legal experts and advocates have raised concerns about press freedom violations. Here's the problem. He did go in and do this. He did go into a house of worship with protesters. He started questioning. He started pointing cameras at the parishioners, scaring them out of their private property, their house of worship. Can you imagine if this was a mosque and Joe Rogan did this shit? Just to say. Or anybody else, Tucker Carlson, went into a mosque and did this shit, you would see all these channels condemning him. Even Fox would condemn him for doing it. But no, we're having other people because he got arrested in the middle of the night as he was doing Grammy coverage. That doesn't mean he was interrupted in his sleep or anything else. He was working. So please, that is another bullshitter. Response: Lemon, who maintains he was acting as a journalist, stated, "I will not be silenced." Of course you're going to say that because you are acting like your freedom to express yourself was being violated. No, you violated other people's rights. Under, of all things, the KKK Act. Yeah. You violated it under something that was supposed to protect people of color. And this is one thing I want to get it straight across. Anybody who puts color before logic and reason is a racist. And if they keep on having to go and say, it's because of our color. No, it's because of your actions. Color has nothing to do with your actions and how shit happens. Response: Lemon maintains that. Legal status: he is released after appearing in federal court. Most likely also, of all things, having to hand over his passport. Because he's not going to be able to leave the country. And even though he can go and say, I'm a journalist, I got to go anywhere where the news is. Well, you went to a location you automatically knew were set up with other people to go and do what you did. And, of course, my favorite thing, you videoed it to go and make a color of journalism that is so much like the sun. You know, so much like the school bus. Yes, yellow journalism. And I'm not trying to be racist. I'm just pointing it out. If you want to go and call me a racist, go right ahead. Please go right ahead. I don't care at 50. And Don Lemon doesn't care because he did it so he can be, oh, I want to run for something. Because I'll tell you, this is a political run. Because this should, if he has any insurances for making these videos, and doing his business, his insurance carrier is most likely going, dude, this is not something we're going to cover. And I don't have those insurances. And yes, somebody can go and play the stupid game because they want to go and make it about me than just addressing the facts. This affects us because everybody who's going out here doing anything about covering a subject. And his is serious news. And the amount of spin he puts onto it is disgusting. And you can make up your own mind. Honestly, I hope you do. You don't listen to all these talking heads. You don't listen to me. I am only giving my opinion. And my opinion is that, you're just as bad as the KKK. That's why they gave you the charges. Because that was a civil rights violation. What is he going to see? He's going to see a slap on the fucking wrist. Maybe a couple years of probation, where he will still say, I had my rights violated. I have the freedom of press to protect me. Yeah, your freedom of press equivalents to what comes out of you after you drink a lot of lemonade. Or let's be correct, sourpuss. Mr. Lemon, because, Don Lemon, which was what it was pronounced multiple times for multiple years, but all of a sudden you had to go and make sure people go and say, Lemon. Anyways, this is just my take on this situation. I hope people understand this channel is not being here political. I am out here to call out people who make us look bad. And yes, he's on a whole different spectrum, but it makes us look bad out here that people are going to think, are we going to go and commit felonies? And guess what? You know what that insurance, personal liability insurance that's out there for a lot of people who do these things, and they go and get it, they LLC and everything else. They go and say, hey, here's a new section that we have to go and put up. You might violate somebody's civil rights when you're going out there live podcasting. Guess what? We now just upped your insurance because you're stupid. One stupid individual is starting to go and get to our pockets because every insurance company's going, oh, baby, oh, yeah, give us that money. And if you don't think that's happening, check out on what personal liability insurance details when you are publishing. And you will find out, because it's defamation insurance, okay? And nothing here I said is defamation. It all can be proven that Mr. Lemon was live streaming before entering, stating he couldn't go and say where they were going, entered the church for reactions, was getting told to leave, as all the others and all the parishioners filming them leaving after. That's harassment, plain and simple. And no color of journalism, especially yellow, is covering it. I hope his insurance is looking at him for that. And that's it, because, I don't want to get into why they were protesting, because there was a member of the congregation that is in charge of ICE in that jurisdiction. which would still also mean that you committed another felony by harassing an officer and should have been charged with that because you were seeking to harass him with the group conspiring to do so. And this is the allegations against him, and that what he will be tried in court for. So, it should be interesting to see the rest of this case, and something that we all have to think about in this gig, because we're out here reporting about what is going on in our respected gigs. So when somebody like this might make an insurance policy go up because they're going to go and say defamation and then violating civil rights, yeah, baby, just make you, yes. Oh, yes, Mr. Lamont. It's so nice for you to go and fuck over the little guy. And this has nothing to do with him personally. It is his professional, multiple years or decades of being in the reporter space, and he didn't think that he would violate somebody's civil rights. Well, I hope that the case goes well for him. I really do, because it should go pretty decent, as the fact that he provided all the evidence. And now they get into the text messages, because once you're charged on a conspiracy, guess what also happens? They go and check all that shit, communications between everybody. And they will see how he and them coordinated. And you don't have to know the whole plan. You just have to participate in your section of it. And that's what RICO, our loved AOC, who went and said, RICO isn't a crime. Racketeering, the first word out of RICO, is a crime. Okay? The acronym itself, Racketeering and Corrupt Organization Act. But I think I'm done with this right now, because we can get in further and further. And as I said, this is not a political channel. But when you go and start screwing with everybody else's gig out here who are reporting on subject matters, because now the insurances for a lot of people are going to go up because you violated somebody's civil rights, and we can all see it. Now it's going to be interpreted by the courts of whether or not you did and what extent you participated in those actions. And I will follow this just on the face value of just how ridiculous he acted. Because I'll tell you, if he didn't go into the church, he didn't follow him in at the particular time, or were meeting up before going to the place. There's other things, Mr. Lamont, that would have protected you from this. But now you're going to get this, and now they're going to start watching you. So have fun playing in the castles, man. Your imaginary world here, because it is really funny that the KKK Act is going to be used against them. You have yourself a great day.